the lion is called a king. But this story starts in the wrong place, because in nature, power doesn't work the way we think it does. If the lion is truly the strongest animal, why doesn't he run most of the time? Why does he hesitate when speed should matter? And why does he often leave the most dangerous part of the hunt to others? Most people never notice this, but the lion's power doesn't appear in the moments where he kills. It appears in the moments where he doesn't. Because the real question in the wild is not, who can you defeat? The real question is, who can you make stop trying? When a lion enters the savannah, nothing freezes, but everything adjusts. Hyenas slow down, leopards change direction, herds take longer routes. There is no announcement, no dramatic clash, just calculation. Is this worth the risk? That question is where power begins. Not in winning a fight, but in making the fight unnecessary. This is the first thing most people misunderstand about dominance. They think dominance is loud, they think it's constant violence. But in nature, violence is expensive. Every chase burns energy. Every collision risks injury. And injury is not pain, injury is time. Time you can't afford. The wild doesn't reward bravery, it rewards efficiency. And the lion understands this better than almost any other predator. That's why the lion doesn't rush. That's why he doesn't chase everything he sees. Because chasing is a gamble, and in nature gamblers don't last. What lasts are systems. The lion is not powerful as an individual. The lion is powerful as a structure. A pride is not a family in the emotional sense. It's an arrangement, a way to distribute risk, a way to reduce cost. One body runs, another blocks, another waits. Not because of loyalty, because it works. When people say lionesses do the hunting, they often say it as if it's a weakness. It's the opposite. It's optimization. The pride protects its most expensive asset. Because the most dangerous job is not hunting, the most dangerous job is enforcement. Territory is not land. Territory is access. Access to prey. Access to water. Access to rest. And the male lion's primary role is not to chase. It is to make access stable. He does this without moving, with sound, with presence, with reputation. The roar is not a display, it is a boundary, a message sent through darkness. This space has a cost. And most animals understand immediately. Because fighting a lion doesn't just mean losing a fight, it means losing tomorrow. That's why retreat is so common. Not because the lion always wins, but because the price of losing is unacceptable. This is what dominance actually looks like, the ability to impose consequences without constant action. Now consider this. If dominance required constant fighting, no animal could hold it for long. Energy would run out. Here is the part that most people get wrong. They think the lion's dominance comes from confidence, that the lion knows he is powerful. But confidence is not what holds power in the wild. Memory does. The savannah remembers. It remembers which presence turned movement into hesitation. It remembers which shadow changed routes. It remembers which sound meant danger without warning. Dominance is not something you perform once, it is something the environment learns. And the lion's greatest weapon is not fear in the moment. It is expectation. When animals expect consequences, they change behavior before contact. That's how power becomes cheap, and cheap power lasts. But cheap power only exists if the cost is believable. This is where most predators fail. They rely on effort. The lion relies on reputation. A lion does not need to chase every intruder, he only needs to punish one. After that, the rest decide for themselves. This is how enforcement scales, not through constant action, through memory. That is why scars matter. Not as trophies, as signals. Each scar is proof that a boundary was tested and answered, and the wild reads scars fluently. But this system has a weakness, because memory fades, and belief erodes. The longer a lion holds territory, the more pressure builds around him. Young males grow, coalitions form. They don't rush in, they watch, they measure, they wait for the moment when enforcement becomes expensive. Because no system collapses when it is strong, it collapses when it becomes costly. Age slows reaction. Injuries stack, energy recovery takes longer, and suddenly The same roar doesn't travel as far, not physically, psychologically. Because dominance is not what you are, it's what others believe you can still do. This is why male lions don't lose power suddenly, they lose it quietly. First, challenges increase, then hesitation disappears, then boundaries blur, and finally, the system breaks. Not in a dramatic battle, but in a calculated takeover. The wild doesn't overthrow, it replaces, and this is where the myth of the king fully dies. A king rules by right. A lion rules by cost. When the cost is no longer convincing, the rule ends. That's why coalitions matter more than individuals. Two males together are not twice as strong. They are exponentially more threatening, because they reduce risk. One can fight while the other flanks, one can chase while the other blocks. This is not bravery. This is math. And math always beats pride. The wild doesn't care about who deserves territory. It cares about who can hold it at the lowest cost. That's why the most dangerous lions are not the biggest. They are the most coordinated. And this is also why lions rarely waste energy on unnecessary displays. Because displays invite testing, silence invites distance. A lion who roars constantly invites challenge. A lion who roars selectively creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is terrifying. Now consider the prey. Prey animals don't see lions as monsters. They see them as probabilities. They don't ask, "Will the lion kill me?" They ask, "How likely is it?" And lions work to raise that probability just enough, not to guarantee death, but to make avoidance rational. This is the genius of the system. The lion does not need perfect success. He only needs consistent pressure. And pressure does not require constant motion. It requires presence. That's why lions can rest for hours. That's why they can lie in the open. Their power is not in activity. It is in what activity would cost others. But here is the part that feels uncomfortable. The lion does not dominate because he is morally superior. He dominates because he fits the environment better than his rivals. When conditions change, dominance shifts. If prey patterns change, if water moves, if numbers drop, the system adapts or dies. There is no loyalty to the past, only alignment with outcomes. This is why dominance is never permanent, and why nature produces no true kings, only temporary enforcers. This is the deeper rule hiding beneath the lion myth. Power is not something you own. It is something you maintain. And maintenance is exhausting, which is why every dominant system eventually fails. Not because it is challenged, but because it becomes inefficient. The moment enforcement costs more than it controls, it collapses, and the wild moves on. Quietly, efficiently, without regret, because the wild does not punish emotion. It punishes inefficiency. It does not remember who was strong. It remembers what worked. And the lion was never powerful because he ruled. He was powerful because, for a time, he made resistance irrational. That is the rule beneath the myth.